course, is Isagenix. Hope it is yours. Hey Mark, glad to see you here. Larry, David Hopkins, Carol, and Richard. One more minute and I'll mute the lines and we'll get started. Is there anyone who's joined us on the teleconference line, wants to give us a shout and tell us who you are? Alright, again, grab a pen and paper. We're going to be talking about a couple of things. Persistence is one, and persistence is the key once you understand how the lock works. Okay? And we're going to talk about that lock. Oh, absolutely. Isagenix is my choice. So I'm in Vegas at the Big Blitz event. And then I joined up. Well, it's nice to get to know you again, Mark. Good to hear from you. This is going to be recorded. Good. I'll try to say something worthy of recording. Thank you, Richard, for recording for us. All right. Recording mic lock. I can hit.
All guests are now muted.
Just muted the line. Hi, everybody. I'm Jim Rollins. I'm your your host tonight on this call. And let me actually tell you about the two little scampers you're seeing there on the line, or on the picture. That's Daniel and Kiana. Kiana's my youngest granddaughter, and she's a nice baby, and so is Daniel. And the neatest thing is I insist that on a daily basis, each of these two, along with 15 others, receive at least one shake a day. And they do, and they're healthy, and they're strong. What's really neat is their moms are too, even while they're nursing and waiting the 8 months for them to be born. And you're looking at one of the biggest reasons of the whys Isagenix is important to me. My own life is important, but it seems to me that my grandkids are even more important to me. So before we really get started, take your piece of paper in front of you, and I'm going to give you why network marketing. This is the why network marketing creates more millionaires than any other form of income. Okay? Look at all the different forms, all the different ways you can make an income, and none can create millionaires as often and as many as Isagenix. Network marketing is the key. Isagenix is our vehicle. Here's a quote for you. The difference between the wealthy and everyone else is something called leverage. You've heard the word. As long as you have a fulcrum and a stick long enough, you can move the world. That's literal. That's true. The fulcrum is you, and the stick creates the leverage. And depending on where you put that fulcrum and how it is positioned, it will either move the world and can make you an incredible income, or you miss placing it in the right place and don't do what's necessary, so all that happens is you got a big stick with a fulcrum, but it's not moving anything. When we understand that nothing gives you the individual leverage that network marketing does in such an ethical way, then you can make a decision that this is your home, this is what you want to do, and you can now make a difference, not just for the rest of the world, but especially for yourself. Here's why. We are very used to corporate world, where we belong to this big team and they pay us so many dollars per hour, and And as we increase our knowledge, we're worth more per hour and they'll pay us more. But leverage gives us something entirely different. I believe it was a gentleman by the name of J.C. Penney that made the statement, and J. Paul Getty also, give me the opportunity to make a penny on every person I meet versus making $100 per hour on my own efforts, and I'll take the penny every time. Why? Because of leverage. If you look at each of us and our work ethics, we've been taught that a standard work week consists of 40 hours. So if we take that 40 hours per week and look at approximately how many weeks we work during the year, it's on average 50 weeks a year. If you multiply, and these are the two things that I want you to do, multiply 50 weeks times 40 hours, and that will give you, so you multiply 50 times 40 equals 2,000 hours per year that you get paid on. If you're paid $10 an hour, you can figure out how much that is. If you're paid 20, it's double that. If you're paid 100, okay, it's 10 times that. That looks like a pretty good income if you're making $100 an hour. But still, it's small fry, small change compared to what you can make when you leverage. If a lifetime, which is 2,000 hours in a year times 40 hours, so do the math, 2,000, which is how many hours you put in a year, times the average of 40 years, that equals 80,000 hours. So you and I are valuable, our value before product B is approximately 80,000 hours. And depending on how much we get paid per hour, this is how much money we would have to live on during that lifetime. What if you could somehow find a vehicle where you could bring in 1,000 business partners? 1,000 people who want to get healthy, want to lose weight, want to improve their longevity and live longer, and want to make a difference in the world. And each of those 1,000 people could work 1 hour a day. 1 hour a day would give you an extra 1,000 hours. So in 80 days, you would have 80,000 hours. In other words, in 80 days, with each of your 1,000 associates giving you 1 hour of their time that you get paid on, you will equal a lifetime of your own of income in 80 days. If you can convince 1,000 people to work 8 hours a day, 1,000 people, 1,000 on your team, 5,000 on the right, 5,000 on the left, you would, if each of them worked 8 hours a day, you would have 80,000 hours in 10 days. 80,000 hours in 10 days instead of 40 years. Think about that for just a minute. So write some of those numbers down. We average a 40-hour week. We work about 50 weeks in a year, which is going to average 2,000 hours a year. We work 40 hours or 40 years in a lifetime. So 2,000 hours times 40 years is 80,000 hours in our lifetime we work. There's your first thing to consider. That's what we can personally do one-on-one, just us. But if we can get 1,000 people to join us, and here's the beauty, if we can get 2 people to join us who trust us and believe us, and will duplicate what we've just done and get 2 of their own, and they duplicate that and get 2 of their own, it doesn't take long to get 1,000 people in your organization. I know Kathy and I have between 15 and 20,000 people currently in ours. I have a son who has over 10,000 people in his organization, and he's 25 years old. So can it be done? Yes, that's where that persistence is going to be talked about here in a moment. So 1,000 people working 8 hours a day will produce 80,000 hours in 10 days. And in 10 days, that reproduces everything you could earn personally in 40 years. Does leverage make sense? Oh my gosh. It's the engine that pays us. We need to respect leverage. On top of leverage, then we need to do kind of what Jay has been suggesting. We need to expose 2 to 3 new people per day. 2 is average, and that's good, to the opportunity of better food at a good price that is safe. The possibility of longevity through product B, cleansing technology so we feel better and we are better. Give me just a second. Let me read a couple of things. Let's answer a couple of your questions real quick before I go on, okay? 1. Concern of David is that one of his clients suggested if he does a cleanse and he's on medication, will the cleanse take out the medication? The only medications that I know it interferes with, and the rest I've had no problem with over a 9-year period, are obviously someone who's on chemotherapy, no cleansing. Someone who is on anti-rejection drugs. It's not that it overcomes the drug, it's that our products build the immune system. And the immune system can become more powerful than the rejection drugs can keep down, thus attacking one of their organs. Another one is if you're on Coumadin or a blood thinner. Unfortunately, when you're cleansing, unfortunately, this is the good part, you're lowering your sugars. Less sugar in your blood automatically thins your blood. So if you put a Coumadin on top of that, it could get too thin. So you can't do any deep cleansing if you're on any heavy blood thinner. The other one to kind of watch out for, anything in the heart area I would be a little more careful with. But as far as standard medications, whether they're pain medications, whether they're depressants, whether they're antidepressants, this is food. Just like food, any food will dilute a little bit anything else you're eating, such as meds. Ours will to a point, but it's no less or no more than just food. So no, it's not cleansing out your medication. Generally, most people see an improvement on what their medications can do. Okay. If the medication is synthetic, then yes, it will let me perhaps that is, shouldn't suppose the client to do cardio. Okay. A point is natural is better than synthetic, and almost all medication, as was stated, is built in a laboratory from a chemical. It's synthetic. Now, what it does do is cleanse out old medication. Yes, it does. It cleans some of that garbage out. But the current medication that's doing its work, I don't see much interference with. Okay? I may have wrong. Cardio. Release the medication through skin. Okay. Looks like you guys are chatting with each other, and that's great. All right. Let's get on to something I wanted to talk about. We're going to talk about this terminology called persist without exception for a moment, if I could. All of us know that persistence is good. But when does persistence end and we make a new decision? Is there a point in time that we should make better decisions and give up on persistence, such as if we're working Isagenix and we can't pay the bills, then do we quit Isagenix? Or is there a way that we can work both? Can we still put bread on the table while we make a living and continue in our off time like Lenny has, and never going to lunch without bringing somebody to lunch with him? Did that work? I'd certainly say it did. It helped him get to millionaire status. It can help any of us. 1 hour a day, 5 to 6 days a week, can make a huge impact on our fortunes and our future. Persist. Now, persistence is good, but when you add the word without exception, it brings you to a whole new state. Tell you about a young boy who liked to swim. I mean, he grew up swimming and enjoyed it so much that he became a lifeguard at his local pool. But he and his best friend, every summer, they would spend as much of that 3 months as they could swimming in the ocean. And their favorite thing to do was to body surf, as you're looking at a young man here doing that very thing. Now, for those of you who have never swam in the ocean or body surfed, it's simply swimming out, catching one of the waves, getting in front of it, and letting the wave carry you along until you come clear into the sand, clear to the beach. And that was one of his favorite things in the whole wide world. He grew up doing that. And they lived very near a little city called Santa Cruz, which is in Northern California. And during the summer, the ocean was warm enough they didn't even need wetsuits, so they had a blast. On one occasion, he and his best friend Chris were out body surfing, and the waves were especially large, and they were just having a great time on a wonderful beach. And they had caught a beautiful wave and ridden it all the way in and said, "Wow, that's so much fun, let's go catch a bigger one." So they turned around and swam and decided to swim even further out to catch it and ride it further in. Sometimes that's a good idea. On this occasion, it might not have been, because what happened, they got well over 1,000 yards away from the beach, which is a pretty good swim. At which point, the water started to recede, and as the water went down, their feet literally hit the bottom of the Pacific Ocean, and the water dropped to waist deep, which had been quite deep, and now it was waist deep. Confused, they looked out towards the ocean and saw the largest wave they'd ever seen in their lives. They had to make a split decision, or a split-second decision of what to do. Swim towards the wave and try to dive under it before it crested and broke, or swim away from the wave as fast as they could and get back to the beach before they got pummeled. Well, Chris made the decision to swim as fast as he could to the wave. Made a great decision because the water was being sucked out into the wave anyway, and it just propelled him like a little bullet right towards the wave. Well, his friend had made the different decision and tried to run away from the wave. Now, waist deep, you can't run very fast, and so he buried his head and swam as hard as he could, but the water and current was going backwards, so he wasn't getting very far, and he was tiring himself out. Well, at the very last moment, he realized he was in serious trouble, because this wave, which is well over 30 feet high, had just begun to crest and was about to break right on top of him. In other words, these thousands and thousands of gallons of water were going to come down on his head and crush him into the sand and the rocks and the coral and everything else on the bottom of the sea. Well, he'd swam enough and had been hit by enough waves that he knew not to fight. He knew to curl up, get himself prepared, get a big gulp of air, and ride out the wave, and then just coast to the top and take a deep breath and be fine. But he had never been caught in a wave this big before. And at the very last second, he took the biggest breath he could and curled into a ball, and sure enough, down came the water. And boy, it just tumbled him and tumbled him some more and pushed him around on the sand and pushed him into the rocks and banged him around and tore up his swimming suit. And finally, at about a minute and a half, right when his lungs were screaming, "Let go and get to the surface," he took off for the surface. And he realized he was going to make it. He could see the surface just 1 or 2 feet above his face. He was about to expel all of his air, and a second wave hit him. Now, he was not expecting the second wave. He had already been down over a minute and a half. That was as long as he had ever held his breath. He couldn't go any further. All of his energy, all of his strength was gone. And his whole body said to him, "It's over. Go ahead and release the air in your lungs and just breathe back in the water. You're dead. You will drown today." At that same moment that he thought he was going to die, another thought went through his mind. "Do you want to die today?" The answer was no. "Then don't let go of your air and keep fighting." And part of his body said, "Fight with what? You have no more energy. You can't even move your arms. Your lungs are screaming. They're burning. Just let go. It'll be over in a moment." He clamped his teeth tight and willed and said, "No, I will persist without exception." He got tumbled around for another 45 seconds, and suddenly his feet hit the floor of the ocean again. With what little strength he had left, he kicked and pushed towards the surface. He had been down nearly 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes actually, when his head broke the surface and he breathed in the sweetest gulp of air he had ever tasted in his life. And as he laid there on his back, just breathing deeply and catching his breath, he said, "Life is good." Now that was a decision this 15-year-old made, to not give up, to persist without exception, which means find a way where there is no way. Make it in spite of the fact that you can't make it. Now, if I had not made that decision at 15, I couldn't be sitting here telling you my story now. That is actually what happened to me at 15. I do know how to persist. I'd like to share the story of another gentleman who knew how to persist. His name is Lasse Viren. True story. This young man ran for a small country, believe it or not, where they didn't have a lot of runners. Up in the Norwegian area where it was cold, where it was freezing most of the year, it's kind of tough to get out there and practice, but Lasse Viren wanted to be a world-class runner. And he practiced, and he practiced, and he ran, and he practiced. And in 1972, I believe, he made the competition cut to perform for his country and run for his country and participate in the Olympics. Now, when he compared his time, his very best time in his race, to all the other runners he was going to be running against, his very best time was not as good as their worst time. But that didn't discourage him. He was in the Olympics, and away he went. The day of his event came. He got on the blocks. He had one extremely good advantage. He could explode out of the blocks. He could just literally explode and get ahead of everyone. The problem was maintaining that explosion wasn't his strength, and most everybody in the pack would pass him up. And he thought, if I could just explode and hold it, I could place. Maybe I could even medal. And the runners came to their mark. He got down in the crouch, and as the gun went off, he exploded, and sure enough, he was at the front of the pack. As they got to the very first turn, everyone started to pass him, one at a time. All of the other world-class runners, the fastest runners in the world, were leaving him behind. As one of the last runners went to pass him, he accidentally stepped on him, stepped on the back of his shoe, knocked him down, and the two of them hit the ground. Well, Lasse's head hit the cement, and it knocked him out. There he lay. All of the other runners, the fastest runners in the world, running their hearts out, didn't stop to come back and pick him up. What were his chances of winning this race? Think about it for just a moment. His chances already were poor. He was dropping to 15th place when he got knocked down. Now he's laying there unconscious. Well, he immediately raises his head, shakes it, and realizes he's being left behind, and something inside of him said, "You weren't destined to be on the ground during this race. Get up and run." So Lasse, rather than do what the other runner who fell did, get up, brush himself off, and limp off of the track, said, "Well, sorry, I did my best." Lasse knew something, and that was to persist without exception. He got up and started running after all of these other faster runners. And something inside of him just absolutely pushed him beyond anything he had done before. And he caught the last runner. Now the audience is going crazy. They're watching this kid come from so far behind it was not possible. And yet he was doing it. He passed one, then another, then another, then two more, then another, then another. And now he's going into the final turn in the last straightaway, and there is only one runner in front of him. The audience cannot believe what they have just witnessed of how much ground this young kid had just made up. And they said it's not possible for him to catch the fastest runner in the world who's out front. He hasn't got enough room to catch him. And yet Lasse pushed himself harder and harder until not only did he catch him, at the last moment he dove for the tape and he broke it first and came in first place. Here's a question for you. Had Lasse not been knocked down, what place do you think he would have placed in the Olympics? Probably dead last, just like he was headed for. It took a major bump for him to get excited enough to do something he hadn't done before. Dig deeper, push harder, persist without exception. Now, while he was laying there on the ground and the rest of the crowd was running off, did his lungs suddenly get bigger? Was he able to pull in more oxygen? Did his muscles increase? No. Every single thing that happened while he was on the ground happened in his head. In his head. He got up saying, "Come back here. You're not going to beat me." And he did the impossible. Over the next few days, he ran 2 more Olympic races, and guess what? Got gold in both of those too. 3 gold medals for a person from Finland who wasn't even supposed to place in the top 3 in any event. 3 gold. He was asked a question about his second 2 gold medals. How in the world did you do it? And while doing it, set new Olympic records. He said, "Well, I figure if I can get knocked down and knocked out and get up and win, what could happen if I could stay on my feet?" That's the same thing I would like us to consider. Let me show you just one thought. Here's my why. I'm not taking any chances. Every one of my grandkids that are 2 and older are having a shake every day. Why? Because I know there's more nutrition in that shake than there is in all the rest of the food they're going to eat all day. That's the way John made it. Safe. Economical enough that a shake for these kids, a half a shake for the ones under the age of 8 is sufficient. And that's $1.50. My goodness. Yes, it's cost effective. And last, I want you to notice the look on their face. Do you think that they're having to hold their nose while they drink it? Or are they coming back for seconds and thirds? They do. It passes the taste test. It's that good. I've never seen any meal on the planet as good for my kids and my grandkids as these meals. As safe and good for them, to build strong immune systems, strong digestive systems, and overall just bless their lives like crazy. Here's what we've got to do is to get into massive action. We need to go out and make 2 new contacts per day. If we can average 1 to 2 new new enrollments per week. That will give us 2 new consultants per month. Guys, that's all it takes. Then we train those 2 to do the very same thing we just did. We bring them on as business partners. I am hoping that you get this, because if you want to produce a lifetime of income, you can do it in 10 days through the vehicle called Isagenix. Why does Jimmy Smith get paid more than any of the rest of us? He has more people in his organization than anyone else. His organizations are massive. He makes a lifetime of income from his former job, not every 10 days, every week, every 7 days. Think about that. Now, true, Jimmy's over 80 years old, so maybe that gives him an advantage, but I'm not sure what that advantage would be. Certainly not more hours in the day. Every one of us have 24. Certainly not more people that just happen to live around him than around us. We all live where people live, and we all make contacts. Can we do something about it? I hope. And once we do, we've got our ISA University, our ISAProduct.com, our ISABusiness.com. These are the company systems they are producing and giving us so many good tools, it's almost tough to decide which ones we should use. One last statement, and I know we're down on time, and it's this. If you missed the phone call that Jay had and the interview with Dr. Bill Andrews from Monday, you better through hook and crook find a way to hear that call. Because, guys, if I told you to be ready by tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock, all expenses paid for a 10-day vacation in Hawaii, and cover you for your work and whatever other thing you got to get done during the 10 days you were gone, could you be ready by tomorrow at 8 a.m.? Of course you could. Well, I'm telling you, Isagenix is handing us more than a trip to Hawaii with all expenses paid. It's providing for us a vehicle of health, of wellness, of longevity, and the possibility, yes, the very real possibility of an extra 10, 20, 30, 40 years of our lifespan being healthy. That's the important part. It's not the length, it's the quality. Isagenix has got it all. My friends, we just happen to be at the right place at the right time. If you've just joined us, bless you. Welcome to the Isagenix family. If you've been part of us for the last 8.5, almost 9 years, good. Let's go out and make a difference. Isagenix is about to explode. I don't know if you realize this, but Dr. Bill Andrews was on the Today Show. Yes, talking about longevity and the fact that he and his research team are the only true scientists looking into telomeres and telomerase. And we have him on our team. Guys, you can't ask for more than that. We just got Neil Armstrong to agree to take us to the moon. That's about what it is. We just got Christopher Columbus to sign us on to the Santa Maria, the Pinta, and the Nina. Which one are you on? Let's go out and make a difference. 2 contacts a day. 1 to 2 new enrollments per week. 1 to 2 new consultants per month. That's all it takes. Persist without exception, and we'll see everybody at the top. Thank you for joining us tonight. It's been fun to be your host. Look forward to seeing you in the future. If you haven't seen or heard that call with Jay Bennett and Dr. Bill Andrews, find a way to listen to it. It's beyond words. What Bill shared with us is that we can expect more incredible things, and it may be 2 to 5 years before all of those things are printed by our peers and reviewed, and all of the tests are back. We're at the cutting edge of this. We are the pioneers. We're coming across the prairie in our with our hand carts right now. But you know what? The hand carts have jet packs on them, and so do we on our shoes. That's the difference of what Isagenix makes. So, to you, Richard, thank you. Thank you, Larry. Thank you, Mark. Carol, always great to hear and see from you. David, thank you. This has been a fun presentation. We will see you Saturday at Lean and Clean for Life again for an awesome one, and I think that'll be about the end of it until next year. So bring everybody you can to these last ones. Right now is when we prepare to launch for next year. Hope to see you all at the New Year's kickoff. I guarantee you, if you miss that one, you better be talking to somebody when they announce what I think they're going to announce. And just, I don't know how they can make the good stuff we already have better, but they seem to know how. And I guess that's what John's gift is. Our gift is bringing people to these incredible products, leveraging by duplication. We can move the world if we have a fulcrum and a stick long enough. The stick is Isagenix. You're the fulcrum. You need to place yourself in its way and give a little pull down on that stick and watch us move the world. Thanks, everybody. Have a good night. Appreciate you guys. Bye-bye.